Welcome back for the our 10-minute Laws of Pesach webcast. Today we will be talking about the actual search of the Chametz the night before Pesach. It is a tradition, as I mentioned last time. The rabbis instituted the law that we have to search and physically remove the Chametz in order not to make a mistake of eating Chametz by mistake. And therefore we have the mitzvah of Bedikas Chametz, which many of you know, or most of you know. Jews, the night before Pesach, take a candle with a feather, they put out 10 pieces of bread around the house, the children hide it, and the father or someone else in the house goes around and does a formal search of the Chametz. Now, this custom is not this mitzvah, it's actually a mitzvah. We make a blessing on this mitzvah right before we do the search. There's a blessing we make, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvaysav v'tzivanu al bir chametz, which means we are actually thanking God, blessing God for giving us the mitzvah. That means this is a mitzvah to remove the chametz from our house. So therefore, if it's a mitzvah, this is not a joke. And unfortunately, some people take it lightly. You send around the kids, it becomes a game, a hide-and-seek game, where they hide 10 pieces and the father finds it and that's it, and they burn it the next day. That is not what Bedikas Chametz is about. Bedikas Chametz is to literally go around and actually search for the Chametz and remove real Chametz. Now, I will tell you that not a year goes by that I don't find in my house, even after we clean it for the 2 or 3 weeks before, I always find Chametz in my house. Not because we're not doing a good search, and because we're not doing a good cleaning. It's because we have kids, we live in that house, and we're eating Chametz till the last day. A kid may take it around, things do happen, and therefore you have to make a Bedikas Chametz the night before Pesach. And the rabbis instituted that this search should be done by candlelight, because they felt that the sunlight, the daylight would not really, you can't really see well in different crevices and different holes in different parts of the house that may not be fully lit by daylight, and therefore they instituted that this should be done after sundown or after nightfall on the night before Pesach with a candle. The candle has the advantage that the fire can get the light of the fire. You can bring it close to the different places, and it can light up the place so you can see what is going on. Now, it's very important to be careful when you do the search that you should not, God forbid, burn your house, because when you do the search, you have to look under the beds. Chametz might have gotten under there. You have to look under different areas, and fire can cause harm. Therefore, you have to be careful with that. And it's possible that if, by putting a candle under your bed, you're just going to do it quick, and you're not going to really search properly there, so I would suggest that a better way to do it in those areas where you're scared to bring a candle, which would cause you not to do it properly, to take a flashlight, and those areas do with a flashlight. A strong flashlight which also can shine up the area, light up the area, and you can properly do the Bedikas Chametz. Now, another important point when we talk about Bedikas Chametz is what happens if someone is leaving for Pesach from his house. He's not going to be home for Pesach. Early morning, on the night, the day of Erev Pesach, let's say Pesach this year is on Monday night, so Monday morning, this person, you might leave town for the 8 days, and you're not going to be home for Pesach. Do you have to search your house? So the law is as follows. If you're leaving the house within 30 days before Pesach, which most of the cases that's what happens, no one leaves for Pesach a whole month before. So obviously, we have the obligation, we're within 30 days of Pesach. Now, the rabbis instituted that within 30 days before Pesach, that means from Purim and on, the obligation to search Chametz begins. That's the period. when the search, the obligation to clean the house for Pesach, that mitzvah of tashbisu, of removing the chametz, begins. Therefore, if you're in your house within 30 days before Pesach, even if you're going to leave your house, you are obligated to do a bedikas chametz in your house. That means, if you're leaving this year, would be Monday night, would be Pesach. So if you're leaving, let's say Monday morning, you would be obligated to do the formal search of chametz the night before, as every Jew does in their home. Now, you may say to yourself, what am I doing this for? I didn't even clean the house. And there was no need for me to clean the house because I'm not going to be here for Pesach, and I'm planning to sell all the chametz in my house, my entire house, for Pesach to the goy, to the non-Jew, so that I don't own this house or the chametz in the house. And what am I doing a search for? The answer to that is that, on the one hand, you're right. If you didn't clean the house, doesn't make sense to search the whole house. And if you're not going to be there, and I don't think anyone would go and do a serious search for chametz in their house, do a serious cleaning in the house if you're not going to be there. So what then is this search? The idea, the suggestion I'd like to make is, and this is based on the suggestion of the rabbis in the Code of Jewish Law, is that because you have an obligation, it's a mitzvah, as I said before, we make a blessing, it's a mitzvah to search, you should clean one room thoroughly, like you would clean it for Pesach, and in that room, or two rooms, an open area that it's easier to clean, and in that room you do the search for the chametz with a bracha and everything. Now, that's if you're leaving the day of Pesach. What happens if you're leaving, in this case, if Monday, say Pesach is Monday night, and you're leaving before Monday morning, you're leaving before Sunday night, let's say you're leaving Sunday morning, so you have an obligation to check for the chametz on Saturday night, the night before you leave. But with the candlelight, only then, if you do it before the designated night for bedikas chametz, for the search, is the night before Pesach, this year Sunday night. If you do it any time before then, you do not make the blessing, but you do everything else. You put out 10 pieces, you do a search, you clean that room, and you do a bedikas chametz, because that is your obligation. A Jew has an obligation to make a formal search of chametz, even if you're not going to be in that house for Pesach. However, if you are going to be in a place where you can make a search for chametz in that place, for example, you're going to a hotel. So first of all, if you're going to a hotel for the whole Pesach, you have an obligation to search the room that you're going to be in. Because if you are renting that room for the days of Pesach, that becomes your responsibility, that room becomes yours technically. And if it becomes yours, the chametz in that room, it has to be cleaned by you. And therefore you have to clean that room before Pesach from chametz. Usually hotel rooms are clean, but you do have to do a search, because you never know, things could be in certain places. So you do have to make a formal search and clean out that room for Pesach, and do a formal search of bedikas chametz with a candle. If you're there the night before, if you arrive there the day of Pesach, then you do it with a candle and the sunlight together, depending. You should use a candle also, because as I said, the sunlight may not really get into every area of the room, in the closets and so on, so you can use the candle also. But you do have an obligation to check for the chametz when you get to that hotel room, even if you're getting there the day of Pesach, because if you didn't have the opportunity the night before, you're only getting there that day, you do it then. In that case, however, if you're going to do a search in the place where you're going to be, then you're going to be doing that search anyway, so then you do not have to do the search in your house if you're leaving the whole house and selling it and so on, because you're going to fulfill your obligation in the new place. However, that is if you're going to leave your house before the night before Pesach. Because as I said earlier, the night before Pesach, every Jew has an obligation to search. And because of that, if you're only leaving on Monday morning this year, which is the day of Pesach, it means Sunday night the obligation to search chametz was upon you. So you should do it in your house as well, as I said, at least in one room. Your car. Your car has to be cleaned for Pesach, and a car is a very difficult thing to do. So, of course, the best suggestion is to go to a car wash and have them do a very thorough cleaning with vacuum cleaners under the seats, in the seats. There you have to go beyond the regular car wash. You have to stand there, make sure that they go into every hole, because believe me, there's chametz all over your car. If you have any, and there's no question that there's chametz all over everyone's car. And therefore you need to do a real search under the seats, between the seats, in the garage, in the glove compartment, wherever you can think of, where you may have put a coffee or cookies, anything. You need to clean your car before Pesach, and don't wait till the last minute for that either. The cleaning of the car does not have to be done with candlelight, because it's very difficult to find chametz in your car with candlelight. So you don't have to do the regular bedikas chametz in your car. As long as you do a search, meaning you clean it before in a car wash thoroughly, you don't have to worry about going in there later with a candle. Your office. Anywhere that is in your responsibility. Your office, any house you live, a vacation home, if you go back and forth, if you own those places, you have to make sure that you remove the chametz from those places. Now, in a vacation home, possibility is that you will not be there for a very long time. People leave; they only go there for the summer, so they're not there for these 6 months before Pesach. So in that case, you don't have to do a search. You just sell it to the goy, and that covers it. But in your office, which you visit every day, and the chances are you'll visit their Pesach as well, because people go to work on the middle days of Pesach, you have to do a search for chametz in your office. And maybe you don't have to do the formal search, but you do have to clean out the area for Pesach. Thank you very much. We will continue next time with the third section on the sale of chametz.